welcome to Macclesfield Town Council Finance Committee. So it's great to see everybody together. I know it seems a little bit like you and us, with us on this side of the table and you there. But I was just going to very quickly say that I think as you'll probably know, the Town Council is all about sort of we want to be a catalyst for this community. We want to really encourage people, and so to have so many fantastic groups here to speak about their organisations and what they do tonight is really fantastic. So just can I start by saying I'm really pleased to see so many people together. Great, for people watching on YouTube at the moment, there's been a networking session going on already with different organisations talking, which is wonderful. And that's exactly what we want. So I guess I better get on with things. So item 1, apologies for absence.
Councillor Matt Richardson.
Thank you. Chris is here, wonderful. Just great. That's great. And then any declarations of interest? Thank you.
I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in just drop in and Silk Heritage Trust that I have people that I've worked with or children from the school that I work in who were involved in those. And also Macclesfield Pride, because my wife is the co-chair and my friend Kay is here tonight.
Right, okay. Do we have any other declarations of interest? No. So I will make a non-pecuniary declaration of interest in item 5.6 for Raw, because I've already heard about some of the interesting plans afoot, and yeah, but obviously, so that's non-pecuniary. So we'll just go to item 3 in the minutes of the Finance Committee held on the 9th of May 2022, and it's just an option to approve those minutes.
Yes, Chair, I move those minutes as a true and accurate record of the meeting.
Do I have somebody second it? Councillor Wilcott, thank you. All in favour of those minutes? Thank you. Councillor Harewood? Fantastic. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so any updates from those minutes, please? No? Okay, fantastic. Right, so on to item, let's just go to item 5, so grant applications. And we're gonna adjourn the meeting now for public questions and comments, statements or presentations or whatever it is. So I'm going to hand over to the Town Clerk of Macclesfield to introduce that.
So everybody who's a speaker I've got down here, you'll have 3 minutes each. I will stop you at 3 minutes because there's quite a lot of speakers tonight. So the first speaker I've got is Kevin and Donna from the Boys Boxing Club. So if you want to stand up and tell us about your grant application.
Right, so my name's Kevin Bradbury. This is Donna Shaw, who's one of the female coaches in the gym. We're here today in the hope that we can convince you to help us in some way towards taking a team of girls to Boxing Ireland as we've done previously. Hopefully somewhere down the line we can produce another Olympian from the town like Carice this year. Maybe not all of you know about the good work that we do at MBBC. We've turned the lives around of lots of kids. A good majority, obviously we haven't turned all the kids around, and just for your information, we're all volunteers, so nobody at the gym has any monetary gain from giving up the time. We've been going for 20 plus years, and like I say, we've turned quite a few kids around, Carice being one. We still only charge £2 a session in the gym, and that's for adults and kids. If the kids box for us in a season, then they just pay £10 a month, which works out at 66p a session. We're purely a non-profit making club, and we normally put a show on in February that generates income for the year. Obviously with the lockdown we haven't been able to do that. to go to Ireland to the SK Box Cup in Dublin. It's an all-female box show. Great competition. There's been previous competitors from the club that have gone on to do really good things. Obviously, it puts them in a good stead for the sport that they've chosen. It's an hard sport, tough, requires so much commitment, determination and perseverance to succeed, all of which are all good life lessons. You know, any of you guys are councillors are more than welcome to come and visit the club and see what the good work we do. I mean, I've just left the club now and there's about 40, 50 kids in there all enjoying themselves. So we do a good thing. That's it really. I don't know whether there's anything else you need to know, any questions you want to ask.
That's really great. Should we just check? Should we ask some questions as well? Would it be alright to ask some questions?
Yes,
Any councillors have any questions about the club?
I can make a. I think it's good to have been supporting this and bringing this about around in Macclesfield. And all I can say is that I wish you well in your venture.
Okay. So I think sorry, councillor.
Yeah, just to say that, you know, if they've championed our Olympic champion Keris, then, you know, you're obviously doing good work. And
It's an interesting story. If you ever want to know the story of where she came from and how she's got to where she is, then I'm happy to share it.
it's a longer tale for tonight, but yeah, I'll speak to you afterwards. But it's great to see that women's sport's being promoted.
Yeah.
She made a professional debut the other weekend and we all went to watch it. She did well.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, thank you. I think that it's an excellent application to encourage women to support sports in Macclesfield. And you actually may be aware of this, but I'm very pleased to tell you that last weekend when I was at the National Memorial Arboretum to celebrate Armed Forces Weekend and pay my respects to the monuments there that my family members are interested, there's a big piece about Keris in the foyer area talking about what she's achieved as obviously a member of the Armed Forces. And we were so proud to see one of our Macclesfieldians represented at the National Memorial Arboretum. You may be aware of that, but I was delighted to see Macclesfield. Delighted to see Macclesfield remembered and celebrated there.
Brilliant, thank you.
And of course, I'll just say as well that, you know, during the summer, really just getting the exposure. You know, I introduced my 1-year-old to boxing. You know, she was looking at it. It was quite interesting. And Councillor Bennett Waite's totally right about inspiring athletes from all sorts of sports as well, because it got a conversation in our house with my partner's nephew about, you know, taking kickboxing to the next level, or, you know, and it's like, well, you know, if she's doing it, then you can do it as well, and that was really positive, I thought. So yeah, that's really great. I think we're going to just go through to the next speakers, if that's all right.
So
Thank
the
you.
next speaker is Paula Staglis from the
Do
Cricket
we have
Club.
to stay?
So I was going to
No.
just going to say, that's my fault.
We
We've got we want to hear everybody speak first, and then we're going to go to the decision-making process. You're more than welcome to stay for the decision, or to if you need to go, then you can go. But either way, you're more than welcome to stay if you like.
Nice meeting you all, guys, and good luck.
Lovely.
Thank you.
See you.
Okay, so next we have Paula Staglis from the Cricket Club.
It's actually Richard. She's just helping me to get the paperwork across to you, if that's okay.
Okay, so it's Richard.
Nash.
Okay.
So I'm Richard Nash. I'm here to represent Macclesfield Cricket Club. I'm one of the volunteer coaches at the club, and I sort of help out a group of 30 kids 2 or 3 times a week to enjoy cricket. COVID massively affected the club, so our income was largely affected over the last sort of 2.5 years. But one of the things that has come about in the last couple of years is women's cricket and disability cricket has started to take off. We've looked for ways to sort of encourage what we to adult ladies, and they all mix together and train together, and it's probably one of the nicest groups that we've got at the club at the moment. One of the other areas that is growing, which is disability cricket, we don't actually have an area at the club which one we can afford to completely finish off our own back due to a few different reasons, which I can go into if need be. But secondly, we wanted to find a designated area where people with wheelchairs can get onto safely. It's no good these people practicing on grass on the outfield because it can make it an unsafe game for them. So we're looking hopefully to try and gain a grant from you tonight to go towards substantial fund from the club that will put towards it, and also some private donations which would help convert an area of land that we've got at the moment to put an open practice area which would allow the ball to bounce safely for them, but it would also dovetail as a designated area for ladies to practice on when they're getting squeezed for space, because obviously there's more male playing on at this moment in time. But also at the same time, we can also then, when it's not being used, use it for juniors who are coming through the system as well, up to sort of under 9 level where it doesn't serve much purpose past that. But the main two drivers are for disability cricket, ladies cricket, and we feel that's going to be a big growth area. If we can actually pull it off, that land would be, I think, the only designated piece of land in the whole of the county for women to play on, certainly up to under 11 level safely, but also for disability cricket. So it'd be quite a unique feature for the club. And at the moment in time, that land is just sat there doing nothing. I think that's all I have to say.
Would you be okay for us to ask you some
Yeah,
questions
absolutely
now?
fine.
Do any councillors have questions? Councillor Wilson?
Yes, I just have a question, please, Richard. You explained that in addition to the grant you're requesting from the Town Council,
Yeah.
the club is making a significant contribution,
Yeah.
and you've got some very generous donations, which I think that range of fundraising is very commendable.
Yes.
But you're saying in the application we don't have enough to start the project yet, which is typical. You know, these things take time to come together. But could you give us a bit of an indication of the sort of timescale you're hoping that you might be able to start the project?
Well, when we originally started, we wanted to start it probably a couple of months ago. We ideally wanted to get it in place for the season, and I think we've got some kids, children with disability. We've got one of our volunteers within the club whose child has got a disability, so she's bringing a group of children to the club to have a training session. But there's only so much we can do, so we're also having to use Maxfield College to then use the indoor hall to do the ball safety and things like that, which would have been nice to have done at the club because outside would have been better. So we would have liked to have started it already. I think realistically now, with how all these things take, it's probably going to be something that we start sort of September and onwards. The private funding is that we've actually managed to get somebody to agree to give us £2,000 towards it, but that is subject to us being able to get the rest of the funding for it. The club, I don't know if you've been to Maxfield Cricket Club recently, but the club is really, it's not in a great condition. It needs a lot of care and attention. So we're drastically trying to pay off a debt within the club. The club could have folded about 5-6 years ago if it wasn't for private funding. So we're using funding to clear the debt off, which I think is about 30,000 left, and then the surplus money is trying to put into a new clubhouse facility there, so it can be a self-funded facility. So that means things like disability cricket and ladies cricket, they get caught on the back burner. So one of the things I've done this year is raise money to get a kit for the ladies cricket teams, which has been paid for through PR Jones, which is across the road, very kindly. But the club have said if we can do this off, they would willingly fill out the rest of the gap on it, subject to sort of getting us close to it. And with the private donation, hopefully if we could get this, we'd only be about 3 grand short, which we could then do through the club.
Thank you.
Councillor Wilcock?
Just a question in relation to the radius of area where you expanded the availability for people with disabilities to play. Is it just Macclesfield, or are you going further afield, encouraging or trying to encourage more people?
I'd like to think it can cover Macclesfield because there's not a designated area for this sort of thing really around. You sort of use the facilities there and make do with what you've got. The fact that we'll actually have a brand new lake artificial track which will be perfect and safe to use. It's wide enough to get access points into there. We've got like a ramp that goes down to there and stuff like that as well. There's toilet, disabled toilet facilities on site. So the fact that we will have everything to use is great. The sad thing is we had new nets put in, which if this had been a consideration 5-6 years ago, we could have made it wider than that easily and then let them just use that as a practice area as well. But to do that, that's probably going to be more to sort this area out. So no, I think it would certainly affect areas like Poynton, Winslow. It would affect a bigger area and sort of Colmston and stuff like that as well. There isn't anything like it. Yes, there's lots of ladies teams and they're growing, but there's nothing that's fit for purpose really.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any further questions? Right, well, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks for listening to everything.
Brilliant. So just to repeat, we're going to sort of listen to the different speakers, and like I say, I'm pleased as punch that you've all come to sort of talk about your applications. But and so yeah, should we get on to the next one?
So next we have Kalini from Signets.
Thank you, everybody. So I'm here to talk to you about Signets, which is a not-for-profit youth group which I set up in 2010. At present, we are not-for-profit and we're applying for CIC status. The idea of the group is to help develop young people in their confidence, their communication skills, presentation skills, and also, particularly with the pandemic, our focus at the moment as well is their mental well-being, because they have obviously young people who've been struggling so much. The idea of Signets as well is we've worked actually over 10, 12 years now. Thousands of children come through our doors. We run performing arts courses. Every Saturday we meet. We also run Sing in a Day events. We've had people from all over the borough, and also we're very inclusive. We try to encourage as many people of different abilities, and children as well who are disabled. We've had a lot of residents from Rosendale Trust who've actually worked with us. We've actually got currently children as well who we're supporting. The main ethos of the group, as I said, is it's to actually develop young people, but also we've been finding that through the 12 years we've been operating, we're like nomads. We've been going through like St Michael's Church and then into the King's School. We've also then had rehearsals at the Methodist Church, All Hallows School. What we're finding is every time we put on a production, it means that we're sort of this massive get-in of taking things in and out, setting up sets, stage, props, lighting, sound, etc. And up to now, we've also been able to use all the lighting and sound from the King's School. However, now that they've moved premises, it's proven difficult because they've found that because it's all open plan, they can't hire it out easily. We've therefore taken the bold step. We actually just ran the show Matilda, which was a sellout, amazingly successful in February. And then we were offered the opportunity to actually take on Paradise Mill, and so we're about to take on the lease of the second floor, which has been refurbished completely by the owners, and we are now therefore, so they've done the refurbishment to actually get it fit for purpose. We're now having to actually kit it out with the other accessories. We've actually sanded the floor, we've put murals on it. I've got pictures should you wish to see them, because the transformation's been remarkable. And what we're now looking to do is to actually have it as our home, but so we can run rehearsals, but also you'll see I've given you some information about the Jigsaw programme. Jigsaw is a youth life skills, wellbeing and employability programme, which is delivered at the moment in schools and also with parents. We actually work with families. And the idea there is that we're hoping to be also running workshops. I deliver a lot of workshops in schools anyway, and only last week I was having schools saying, well, can we bring classes of children to the mill so that they can actually be off-site and actually doing workshops. So the whole project is designed, and the grant application is for the lighting and sound equipment, which is going to be a major benefit because at the moment it's basically basic lighting, and in order for us to put on performances or to have it as a space for somebody to actually come do a presentation or book it for an event, we will need that to actually make it fit for the purposes that we're hoping we'll be able to develop. I think the other thing I just wanted to mention that we have already had a lot of interest from a number of different groups who've actually said, people who said that they'd love to actually run Wednesday because it is so attractive now. And I think it is something as well which will benefit the whole community in Macclesfield as well as other groups, and it would be a space which I think there are spaces but not one of that size. It's It's 5,000 square metres, 500 square metres, and it's a big space, beautiful toilets now, kitchen, etc. So is that, I'm over my 3 minutes. But I don't know if there's anything else. I just want to emphasise once more, just that the fact is that the whole idea is of Jigsaw as well, is to actually help young people realise their potential, achieve their aspirations, and to develop them, and particularly on the mental wellbeing front.
Brilliant, thank you very much. Would we be able to ask some questions?
Absolutely.
Do you have any questions? Councillor Howard?
Thank you. Where else, in what other county or other area of the country do you deliver this program?
Sorry,
You're-
sorry, apologies,
sorry.
I didn't actually understand.
Your literature say you're soon to be a community interest company, a
That's
private company.
Yeah.
Where else do you deliver this program?
It's all over the Cheshire area.
No.
With the crew, yes, on Monday, on Friday, all over the area. It's mostly Cheshire based, but we have also children coming to us from Knutsford, Poynton, Wilmslow, Alderley Edge, all of the surrounding areas, Marple, and children come to us to our rehearsals, which are sort of within the vicinity really.
That's brilliant.
Can I ask another question here?
Absolutely, Councillor Howard.
Can you name any of the locations in an adjacent area that you hold this kind of activity?
The workshops have been delivered in Cambridge, down at schools in Essex.
No.
Sorry, I don't
Adjacent to Macclesfield, where you actually run this kind of activity, a location.
We've been delivering through Wilmslow Leisure Centre, Poynton, Macclesfield, various areas. We've used different venues to actually run the programme, but also to actually put the productions on. I'm not claiming to be nationwide. I don't.
That's okay. We've got and Councillor Bennett Wake has a
Sorry.
question as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, can I declare another non-pecuniary interest? There's a child in the class I work in, I think it's been in Matilda, and other children as well. So, yeah, so basically what you're saying is you want to base a home in Macclesfield,
Yes.
but the services that you provide are open to everybody, not just Macclesfield.
Everybody and anybody, and we have had children from all over. We've had children who've been coming, sort of from, sort of Staffordshire, and we've got children who actually come to us. So we run not only shows, which we have a regular Saturday afternoon. We start at sort of 10:30 in the morning, drama lessons, musical theatre, and then we run the shows like twice a year. We've got the licence for Shrek, which will be performing next July. We'll be also performing a show in October. But apart from that, we run spring schools and summer schools. This summer, we're doing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory from the 15th to the 19th. I've got children already from all over the place, New Mills and so on, who will travel to be there. So yes, it's open to all abilities, and open to, and it's totally inclusive in terms of if a child has a disability, which we do have, we will, they're welcome and we cater for it. And we're all DBS, most of the chaperones as well. And I'm a mental health first aider for adults and youth, so we cater for their needs. Does that answer your question?
Councillor Wilson?
Yes, thanks. In the interest of transparency, I want to declare a non-pecuniary interest in this item because I've already had a discussion with Colleen, who was very kind enough to show me the photographs of the developing work when I was attending the Rosie's Plaques event at the museum in my capacity as Mayor of Macclesfield. I've seen the photographs. I'm sure other colleagues may want to see them. But I have two questions, please, Colleen. The first question is that you're saying that there's been projected income from ticket sales.
Yeah.
If you give me an indication of the sort of prices that you charge for tickets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep everything, I did want to tell you about that anyway. We keep all our prices low, we're not commercial. So for example, our ticket prices for our big show was only £12 a ticket and then £8 for the concessions. This on the 16th and 17th we have another show and we keep it at 10 and 6. Apart from that, the children who attend pay very, very little. So we only charge them £10 a week for a 3 or 4 hour rehearsal, which if you were to go to Stagecoach, we also only employ very, very experienced and qualified professionals. So as I said to you, all the people in the group are volunteers. I don't get paid. The only people who get paid are our choreographer and our musical director, because we need to get professionals in for that level of detail. But the children only pay, as I said, £10 a week. The drama classes are only 5. So it's you know, they're getting hours. And when we have the shows, for example, when we have extra rehearsals, we never charge them. So they're paying a nominal amount, and it's really that amount of money that we use to actually cover the cost of putting the shows on, the ticket sales, and also for paying for our musical director and choreographer. Hence, the idea of renting the place out is so that we can actually get revenue to actually help cover the cost of the actual rent that we'll be paying.
That's great. And I was just wondering, so I had a question myself. Regarding, I mean, we've got some groups here potentially that could use it. What's the profile of the sort of groups that you're expecting to be?
Ideally, so ideally what we want to do is we want to keep it to a maximum of 60. Okay, and we want to keep it to, you know, anything from Pilates, aerobic, you know, anybody wants to come. We have now sanded the floor and it's about to be varnished. It's going to be a beautiful dance floor so people can come who want to acquire. We're not limiting anybody except people who might damage it, like maybe if there was a sabre. So what we would rather not have is tap, because obviously we've paid a lot of money. It's costing us over £1,000 just for the varnish, because we've sanded it down to this beautiful hardwood, red hardwood, and it's beautiful. It's about to be varnished. So, but yeah, anybody, we would welcome anybody. And also, I will say to you that I have actually also been speaking with the ladies who are at the museum above us, and they're very excited about the possibility of collaborations, because they can only ever take like 15, 16 children at a time. And so if they could actually get the children to come, we could do workshops upstairs. We've got the catering facility now, and we'll have the kitchen and everything, so we can do refreshments, there's, you know, toilets, everything's safe for children. And so we will be able to actually have children on the premises looking after them whilst they go upstairs. A friend of mine who's actually the assistant head at Holland Hay Primary, she said you pay £200 just for a coach trip to get the children there, because he didn't open till 10. They could have just come to us. We would have done a workshop or something. I could teach any of my workshops. So that's the plan, to do collaborations as well.
Lovely, thank you. That's really great. Do we have any further questions?
It was about the event space and the numbers.
Yeah.
It would actually service, and you must have read my mind asking your question.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, it's all right.
Can you speak to us? That's brilliant.
And anybody wants to ask me? We've got a grand opening on Saturday, and we would love to.
We have our next speaker.
It's Faye from Just Dropping.
We should get you on the YouTube, all on the YouTube channel as well, really. Actually,
Don't
there's a
start
few
with
people.
me.
Okay, that's fine. Sorry.
Okay. Hi everyone. So I'm Faye from Just Dropping. You may or may not know that we are a charity based in Macclesfield, and we work with local children, young people and parents, and we provide a range of counselling and wellbeing services, such as activities, groups, mentoring and so on. We are seeking funding from the council for our summer programme this year, which will be called Mactivate. And the summer programme, through Mactivate, we want to reach 20 children from underserved communities. So that could be the LGBT community, it could be BAME community, or it could be those that live in low socio-economic postcode areas. We feel that these children struggle to access mainstream activities over summer, and research shows us that the summer holidays can be a particularly difficult time where risks might increase for those children. The Mactivate programme we feel aligns with the Town Council's priorities in that we want to keep it local. So obviously as a proud charity we want to invest in the local area. So the funding will fund the activity side of the summer programme, and we will link in with organisations such as the escape room, yeah, all of them, but not just the funded ones, it's also things like the green spaces. So we'd love some of the activities to take place outdoors in the parks and things like that as well. And I guess the benefit to that is that it would encourage the children and the young people to continue to access those areas once the summer programme is over. At the end of the summer programme as well, we want to do a celebration so that those young people can invite their extended families along and celebrate what they've been doing over the summer, in the hope that it will get them ready to go back to school, having had fun and a safe activities to take part in over the holidays. And I think that's all I've got to say. Does anyone want to ask me any questions?
Questions?
I'll race you there first.
No, seriously, you do a fantastic job again.
Thank you.
I've declared an opportunity interest as children whom I know use the service and ex-colleagues. So.
Councillor Howard?
I just like to second what she said.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's really great to hear. It's really interesting things going on there. That's really exciting. And yeah, okay. I think I was just going to ask really. I think that so as a town council, we're very interested in particularly in that keeping people active and that way. So what you were talking about there was really interesting. But the other thing is about active travel is another thing we'll look at, and sort of getting people to, so just ensuring sort of that people kind of walk to events or activities.
Definitely, yeah. And I think that's a good thing about using like the local green spaces is that we're a town centre based organisation, so quite often we will meet at our premises, but then we can walk to South Park to use that space, or we can walk to Victoria Park. It's teaching people the routes and things like that as well, and keeping it local. So.
Thank you. Councillor Wilson?
Yes, I just picked up from the Faye from your application when I was looking at it that the 43% increase in demand in services that you've had recently, and you know, I think this type of project that focuses on supporting children during the school holidays is really necessary. As you said in your remarks, it's a time when children are at most risk, and I do feel that the use of indoor and outdoor space is very important, and it also fits in. I am the outdoor and leisure champion for the town council, and it fits in with our movable Macclesfield strategy.
Yeah.
And the question I'm coming to a question, and that question is that there's another advert coming up there before the question. It's South Park's 100th birthday in August. It's the centenary on the 16th of August. Okay. And as one of my mayoral civic events, I'm having a party in the park on the 13th of August to celebrate its 100th anniversary. And as part of that, we'll be consulting with local residents about the pavilion and all the work we're doing there. And it'd be brilliant if you would ask your students to comment on what they think about the pavilion design, because that would also be a space that could be used for this type of activity in the future. So I want to engage you in our
No,
consultation.
definitely. We're there. It's National Youth Day the week before.
It is on the 11th. We're going to be there.
So we're going to be there as part of that. So maybe that's
we'll see you
that
there.
Be a bit of a follow up to it.
Yeah, perhaps the town clerk will take a note of that then, please, because we are also going to be attending on the 11th of August to consult with children and young adults, because the more people we ask, the better result we're going to get, and it helps with lottery funding and things like that.
Definitely, yeah.
Consulted you.
Brilliant.
Your residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for coming. Thanks.
Thank you.
So next we have Macclesfield Pride, and we've got Kay Lomas.
Okay.
Hello. Yes, I'm Kate. I'm a new trustee and the treasurer of Macclesfield Pride, the charity. The application is for us to hold a Pride event this year. This event is not just for one day, but covers just slightly over a 2-week period. This year, we have a range of several events. For example, a pop-up information on our Pride shop in the Grosvenor Centre, a film at Cinemac, an event at Paradise Mill, and a children's author who's reading some of the stories to young children in the library. And most of what we're providing this year is free to those people. That's really important for us if we can. The culmination, though, is an event in the town square with a stage and a variety of stalls, both private and charity. And I've concentrated this application on this event. My initial costs, when I worked them out, and I quickly might add, I think I underestimated them because of the cost of living rises and the fuel rises, but also it's going to cost us £300 for a generator because the box outside of it wasn't working. Sorry. Well, there we go. Cheshire East. The amount that I'd like you to consider in the application is for the cost of the stage, sound equipment, engineers, lighting, that sort of thing, above what we've managed to get sponsorship for. It's also the cost of a couple of performers, printing of brochures, advertising and publicity. But I'd like it to be known that these are not nebulous figures, but they are actually known costs. We have invoices and things for those costs. As mentioned, we've been able to gain some sponsorship for the event, and that has been noted in the application. But this amount does not conflict in any of the items I just detailed. It is above that. The charity doesn't hold any reserves as such, but we do have sufficient funds to cover any deficits that might occur, whatever they occur today. But I will say that by doing so, it would definitely curtail our plans for the short-term future, because unlike the previous management of the charity, we don't aim to just do things around one event of the year. We really want to do things throughout the year. I'm not 1 day a year, I'm 365 days a year, and that's one of our principles. Although McBride is obviously primarily concerned with improving the conditions of the LGBTQ+, it's a big mouthful, community, it has been and will continue always to work actively with local businesses. We really believe in that. And looking now, Ted, you can obviously see it needs to be constantly worked on because it is an issue in our area. And we hope by doing this to further our aim, which is to increase our visibility and therefore decrease negativity. Sorry for the strapline, but it's true really. And really just to end, whatever your decision today, thank you for considering this rather late application. Thanks for the ongoing support and help that we've had for quite a while now from our local town council, but really importantly, thank you for the town hall staff because they've really helped us to get to this stage really very quickly. And I do want that many too. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And it's wonderful to hear that you're working so well with our staff and with CDS as well.
I know it's a bit naff to end with that, but the truth is, they really have been so helpful.
Well, I think that's absolutely brilliant to hear. And I think the other thing about saying about positive cycles and you know, yeah, decreasing the negativity, I think that's and increasing the positivity. That's really good to hear.
But we found in experience it is actually true.
Yeah.
And very quickly, I can go into any place in Macclesfield now, pubs that I would not have done like this 10, 20 years ago. It would have been disastrous to my health to do that. Now I can go in quite comfortably, as can people like me, and as long as we're not idiots, we're really welcomed and accepted by so many more people. I genuinely believe that if we do increase visibility, it will help.
That's really great. Would we be able to ask some questions? Would that be all right? So I was going to just kick off myself and say I think one thing we've got so as a council we're trying to make sure we've always got these resources for groups, for all the different groups, and that we're actually where possible sharing. So I mean I know sort of Art Space has a stage. And it might be that it could be a second stage. You could have a pyramid stage and another stage or something. What they would, you know, have you spoken to other groups that might have some of those resources?
Yes, we have. We went there. We both went there, in fact, and had a chat with them. We did use that stage. I think at the first Pride event in Macclesfield. We're meant to be doing it again, but we've been offered, well, quite frankly, the sponsorship was offered to try and help us to get a slightly better stage with all the equipment. Because nowadays, with health and safety, the rules and regs, you've got to have the right bit of tackle for the right job, otherwise it will put us all in a nasty position legally. So we've gone with what we've done because we've managed to get some sponsorship, which is why we went there. But yes, we've spoken to a lot of local groups, a lot of local businesses, and most are really interested in helping us to develop because they can see the link. I mean, if we help them, we are spenders, we are voters. And, you know, being blunt about it, we are, and we're more than happy. We love Mac, that's why we live here, but we don't want to have to move to Manchester to do a particular thing.
Brilliant.
You know, we want to develop here. You know,
Okay. Do we have any further questions from the councillors? No, that's all
Look
right.
at the renegade councillor in the room.
No, no,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, just to say that I do feel that even though I'm a member of the LGBTQ plus community, the Macclesfield Pride have made a really big effort to involve local businesses and groups in their town trail cards, and they did that the other year as well. With their karaoke challenge, they've gone round to some very interesting pubs, and which I've had to chaperone. And it's like you say, and Kay's been quite modest really, because she wasn't out till the first Mac Pride, and I have to say I've never been so out as I am now because of Mac Pride, and that's really what it's all about. I do have my own views about people volunteering and stuff, but they've been putting the money in their own pockets as well. So I'm not going to say any more because the missus is over there, and it is an non-pecuniary interest. I'm not a member.
Councillor Howard?
I hope you'll indulge me with the remark. Centuries of mindset are hard to change, and I hold you on that journey.
thank you, that's really kind.
I think Councillor Wilson?
Yes, I think that the way that Pride has developed in Macclesfield from the early stages, despite the COVID pandemic in between, has really shown the commitment that you have to also support the town centre and all the local businesses in the town centre. It's very key to us as a town council that we support the delivery to all our local independents, and the series of events you've organised this year is really quite phenomenal. You know, and there's stuff going on, whatever your age and however late you want to stay up and all that sort of stuff. So, and just to let you know that we're doing our best to work with Cheshire East Council, whose responsibility it is to sort out the power supply.
Oh yes, we're not blaming you.
No, I noted that, but I just want to reassure you we're on it. And also, in the interest of transparency, I need to declare that as Mayor of Macclesfield, I'm speaking at the Pride Parade start, commencement of the event on Saturday.
Sorry.
Yes. So, none of these are pecuniary interests, but as Mayor of Macclesfield, I'm getting out and about and doing loads of stuff. So, this is one of the things I'm doing, which I'm looking forward to very much.
Thank you very much.
It was lovely to hear you mentioned on Channel 4 a few days ago. Mika from Yasmin was referencing Mac Pride as a reason that he chose to stay in Macclesfield, which was really positive.
The things that we're doing on Smooth BBC and stuff like the point is, we want Mac to be a place that we can live in happily with everybody else. So we promote that.
Brilliant. That's really great. Well, thank you for coming to. We're just we'll move on to the next speaker, but we're gonna move on to the decision stage in a minute.
Emily.
Thank you everybody, and it's really nice to hear everything that's going on. I've not been to one of these before, so listening is absolutely fantastic. So I'm from Reach Out and Recover in Macclesfield, and we are a non-for-profit CIC. Our main aim and mission is for people within our care to feel like a person and not a label, to remove the stigma, judgment and stereotypes, by people seeing the person and not the addict. With this approach, we bring the whole community together through our principles of love, unity, hope, and most importantly, action. So we aim to inspire people and their families to live thriving and fulfilling lives deep rooted in the community and share our values, which are love, respect, honesty, compassion and faith. So the project that I've come here to talk to you about today was actually, it's our first community outreach project since COVID. So I sat down and I did a big meeting with everybody who's currently within our service. I said, what do you want to do? What is it? You know, what can we do? Where do you want to go with this? And we have an art therapist that comes in to Reach Out and Recover every week, and everybody gets so much out of it. But the thing that we really wanted to push with everybody was the stigma with addiction, the words, how people, when they've successfully reached recovery, how they still hold those words, because as society, we give them to people to take away with them all the time. So that's what we wanted to challenge. So our idea is that we will have the concept of a human library, where people of the public can come and talk to somebody who's within our service who is achieving amazingly at recovery. And to do that, we spoke about different mediums that people could express themselves. So we've linked with Artspace, who have been amazing, and they've been able to help us to help people to express their work. So each person has a piece of art that they will stand next to, and this is an icebreaker to allow people to ask some questions about them and about their journey and about what they've achieved, and that's what it's focusing on, is taking out all of the things that have happened that as society we look at people who have used and been in addiction as like crime and people homeless on the street, and it's actually giving them an opportunity to talk about what they've achieved. And this piece of art, and I went to Artspace a few days ago I was like, come on, look at this, come on, look at this. It was amazing. And some of it's like, you know, just the handprints, or, you know, like they've used masterpieces of bits of random things that they found in Artspace, and it's just beautiful, but it's all about the positivity. So that it's not about the stereotypes that we hold when we look at people who have come through recovery. So the money that we've asked for is solely for funding to help us with the art therapist and for materials, things that we can't source at Artspace. And we have volunteer hours coming into that, so each person will have somebody from that's either come through our programme and is now settled in our community. We'll stand by them throughout that day. So yeah, any questions?
Yes, how many individuals do you think will be involved in the project?
So we started off by saying we were going to be really happy if 15 people came through it. We've actually got 32 people that are now completing our work.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we're really proud of that.
That's absolutely excellent, and I also think it's worth for the tape, the people watching, to just confirm for us. I'm just trying to find it now. I know it's in the paperwork somewhere. The date of the event.
The 30th.
5th of July, is it? Yes, yeah. So I thought that was important to bring out, Chair, that for people who may be watching the YouTube coverage later, that it's on the 30th of July. And in the interest of transparency, I did have a conversation with Emily about this project some time ago. So I'm very pleased that it's all been pulled together. It's come to fruition. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Helen?
Thank you. Are these new people or people who have been there? Are these new people passing on, or people who have been there a long time?
So we've got within Reach Out and Recover we have a 6-month programme, which is what we call First Step, and so literally everybody in that section has come forward to do some artwork. But then we've got people that are in Next Step, which is the people that are living in our community houses, and they're also involved. But then we've also got people who have completely moved out of our service, who are still in contact, that are coming to support people and individuals on the day.
Okay, thank you.
It's really great. I think I've just, I declared
Just
an
to
interest.
add, sorry, as well, that this is also an opportunity for their families, to people that are within Reach Out and Recover, to come and view exactly what they're doing and this positive work that they've been able to achieve.
really positive, yeah. I know, yeah. I was just going to say, I mean, it's bringing back my previous life as a performance artist. That's what I was going to say. Not so much the declaration of interest, but just to say, a human libraries and artwork is such a beautiful resource, and it's really interesting. I mean, this has come across as quite a strange thing to say, but when, I mean, and I think Kalini will know about this as well, but there's a real desire for us to not just do sort of just all kind of community art, but you can really do some quite interesting and quite magical things with that. Very powerful, and it's just about sort of making sure that everybody feels like they're part of the town and the community, and I just think that sort of talking through some of it with you already, it sounds really quite fantastic like that. Do we have any other comments or questions? Thank you very much for coming.
We have Natalie from the Tuck Heritage Trust.
So I'm Natalie from the Maxwell Museums, or Silk Museum. If nothing else, it's been wonderful hearing everything. I'd really like to follow up because we were applying for money for an event in September, on September the 10th, as part of Heritage Open Days. And what we really want that event to be is a celebration of Macclesfield and the communities within Macclesfield. Thinking about the heritage, we're really quite focused on stories and the stories of people in Macclesfield. And it's just wonderful because everybody who's spoken has got a story that it would be really nice to capture. Sorry, my head's now full of ideas, which tends to happen. So we feel like it's a good fit with the Town Council strategy about community cohesion and civic and community pride, inclusivity, town centre regeneration. What we're conscious of is that we can put on an event in the museum and we'll attract a particular audience, but what we want to do is sort of spread and be involved with other people. So we're working with St Michael's and we're talking to Christchurch about on that day having activities in different venues around town and linking them all up. So we've talked to Abby about signposting them, really using the wonderful deck chairs. So we'd have deck chairs at the different venues to show that it's all part of one big event. And what the sort of crux of it is that we have like a hop-on, hop-off walking tour that will run throughout the day that will link the venues. So you can join at the Silk Museum, set up on the walking tour, be told various wonderful things about Macclesfield. But when you get to St Michael's, decide that actually you want to stop there and you can do the craft activity that they've got going on. You're going to learn about the stained glass windows there. And then you go and you do the activities there, but you can rejoin the bus, the walking bus later on, and it'll go on round, and then we'll get to Christchurch. Where Christchurch is all, again, talking to various other communities. So they've been talking to some Ukrainian families, and they've been talking to some Czech families about bringing people's traditions and traditions that we may not think of as Macclesfield necessary traditions, but actually they're people who are part of the broader Macclesfield community, so we want to hear their stories as well. I honestly believe that because we've got these different groups involved, we all have our sort of traditional audiences that normally come to us. But I feel like by working together and linking it up, we'll be bigger than big group arts. I like that. So that's the idea that that's how it'll work. The event is going ahead anyway, but what I think this money would bring would be the wow factor. We're missing a little bit of a wow and magic. And so we've got several artists who are keen to be involved, freelance artists who are keen to be involved, and a theatre company, but we want to be able to pay them properly for their time, and that's really what this money would allow us to do. We're also currently in a position where just things
like good props we don't have the budget for, and we'd really like one of those I don't know whether it's obvious from the application, but the head in hole picture thing, you go to most venues and you have a photo opportunity. We're not sold yet on which picture we would use. We quite like the Silk Queens or a Working in the Mill one. There are so many pictures from our archives that we could pick from as a Macclesfield picture, but we love the idea of one of those with several head holes in, but they don't come cheap and we can't afford them currently. But it would be a resource that wouldn't just have to be used by us, it could be at Treacle Market. As long as we've got a decent bit of kit, it can then be used around town and used into the future. So some of it would just be for that day and to make sure that we could pay the artists properly, and some of it is for a longer term investment for resources that we can use properly.
Brilliant, thank you. Could we ask him some
Yes,
questions?
please do.
Do we have any questions? I think I was anyway.
No, so I agree with Natalie, and I've said the non-pecuniary interest, but Natalie's child's also in the class I work with. I just think really tonight I could totally agree with Natalie that everybody here should just get together and well, you're going to transform our little town anyway, but it's an absolute joy post-COVID, to be able to, for people to come and explain what they want to do than just see a dry piece of paper or a screen, to bring that alive with your enthusiasm, and that's certainly what you do. And if you're going to do something, when I started teaching, they used to say, do a little and do it well. So if you do a little and do it well, you've got decent resources, you can use them again, you can share them, you can pass them on, you can build on it, and I think everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet here tonight. It's wonderful, thank you.
Councillor Wilson?
Natalie, I want to congratulate you on producing an event that not only is future-proof for really exciting things in the future, but also it meets our town centre recovery strategy, which is one of the key things we're doing at the moment. And you tie a lot of threads together in this, which is quite appropriate for the music. See what I did there? But I do think that there's, you say in your application form that the event will bring footfall into the town centre. And I think that's really, really very clear that events like this do. I was at the Mac Power event on Saturday, and Matt was buzzing, the town hall was buzzing, and we need more events like this to bring us back, not just from COVID, but from all the other problems that our town centre has. So, well done, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. I was just going to say, well, Nancy, I think no, you're okay. I spoke with your colleague Joe as well, and it's just brilliant to hear of you hatching plans to bring the museum out to other people and then pull them into the museum that way. And I think that's reflects so well, because it creates so much interest in the town, as Councillor Wilson said, but it also will hopefully sort of mean that we can sort of increase the footfall for the museum and support it.
I think it's been a privilege. I don't know if you were aware, but we've been doing walking tours, and walking tours have just started. And a benefit that perhaps we hadn't anticipated was how many people would sort of stop us and try and join in on what starts as a very sort of controlled number of people from the Silk Museum grows as it goes around town. But it is lovely that people join in, or they sort of ask questions.
I think you should work with Emily and with Colleen, because it's like you can have a. I think a good saboteur saying no, it wasn't like that, and then start some street theatre, and then sort of throw in.
I have actually a lot of props.
But I felt a bit fortunate. I was going to start by saying, well, we often just set three things on our own. I mean, that's nice to start trying to work with people more, but then I realised that we talk to most people in this room.
Thank you very much. I do realise we've had a lovely conversation. We're probably going over time. We are. So who's the next?
I've got Becky Thompson from Spark, but I don't think Becky's here.
Do we have another speaker for Spark?
No, that's okay.
Unless Brian's speaking.
No, I don't think Brian's.
Okay.
So we've got Mark.
So Mark from Youth Ed, please, updating us on the previous grant. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for coughing, by the way. I haven't got the dreaded responsibility in the C word. Hopefully this won't be too much of a come down after hearing all the things that everyone's talked about. So I'm fairly new to Youth Ed. I'm Mark, I'm the fundraising officer. My colleague Deb has been involved in managing a grant that the Town Council has very kindly given to Youth Ed. And she's given me some notes. She's not been able to be here today, so I hope that I feed back as well as possible and I'm able to answer your questions. And if there isn't any, if there's anything I can't answer, then I'll obviously take that back and check with the team. But yeah, we've got some funding to do a feasibility study for looking at what youth facilities are available in Macclesfield. I'm looking at open access youth facilities. So there's some brilliant organisations obviously doing brilliant work and very targeted work or specific audiences of young people. But we have a piece of land in Macclesfield and some allocated money that can be used for developing developing some kind of youth facility. The feasibility study hasn't gone as well as we hoped it would do. These things happen, but I think there's been a few different values which I'm going to highlight. Obviously, the aftermath of COVID and mental health and social isolation of young people, and actually being able to consult with them, as well as getting into schools, has been a bit more difficult than normal. So we did an initial consultation with young people. We actually only had 38 responses in the initial study, consultation, and surprisingly only 60% of them said that they would actually use a new youth facility. And I think that a lot of this is how the questions come across, what people actually think about what they want. So if you say a youth facility, sounds like that anyway, doesn't it? But a bit more around the feedback tells us they want somewhere that just chill out with friends, somewhere where they can actually do something outdoorsy. So it's not the traditional youth club where you sit inside and you do games and such. So it has helped us to get some more insight from young people that we have consulted with. What we've said is the next steps we would like to do with those young people is to do some focus groups in the schools as to what the barriers are and perhaps put in the questions over in a better way. We did have some feedback from some schools that didn't want to send our survey around their students because we were focusing it very much around where we had a piece of land, and I think that was a bit obvious. So when the youth survey went out, it was a lot more open-ended. Anyone people could really tell us about what they wanted. So in that second survey, which has just been done, we had 47 responses, and only one of those 47 young people actually go to open access youth club. So there's uniformed organisations and dance and arts and targeted groups around sort of LGBTQ plus and that's a uniform group, groups of support young people with disabilities, learning difficulties and mental health, and perhaps that are more focused on religion-led, so Christian-led organisations. So the results do kind of sort of tell us that there is scope there for some kind of open access youth facility, but more needs to be done really as to what that can look like. We did also consult with some businesses. I think one of the values is that youth there, so we're based in Elgin Hall, we work across the whole of Cheshire, Bolton, Warrington and Wirral, but we don't really, even though we live services in Cheshire East, we don't really have a foothold and definitely don't have a foothold in Macclesfield. So it has been difficult. Some businesses are already involved with supporting other charities. We reached out to about 56 businesses through known relationship and a bit of cold calling, and unfortunately we got 12 responses. And of those 12 responses, they felt that youth facility is needed in Macclesfield, but they feel it should be provided by the local authority. We did have a really good outcome, which is we're going to continue, something that we're going to continue to work with going forward. This is definitely isn't the end of the road. It's still ongoing. I think we just had some difficulties at the beginning. We have linked up with Dr. Simon Haywood, who was involved with the East Cheshire Hospice and helping set up their office at home. So he was introduced to us, and he's been really supportive. He's got really good background around project planning. He has got some really good ideas around fundraising. So depending on what actually comes off the survey, we have that support going forward to try and get the funding together to make it happen. So the next steps, and I've gone on a bit, sorry, I do talk too much, is so the full feedback will come from the new survey we've done with young people. But the three options that we've kind of gone back to our board and our chief officer to look at the next steps is to either continue with our plans and start fundraising as well as what we want to contribute on a piece of land that we have available. Start a club in linked up with the Domain Academy who we're involved with, or look at doing something more like a pop-up space in kind of central Macclesfield, doing different activities and different services in a bit more of a fluid kind of pop-up on different dates and offer different opportunities as we kind of get a bit more foothold in the Macclesfield area. But generally we want to continue to work with organisations that are doing fantastic stuff. In fact, I'm actually more about you all on here than my notes for feeding back. But I think that is all of the feedback that Deb gave me, and I hope that it gives a bit of an overview of what we have done with the feasibility study. It hasn't gone as well as we hoped, but obviously we do thank you for your support, and we have managed to get some valuable information from there, but we know that there's more we still need to do.
Thank you, Mark. Do we have any? Would we be able to have some questions?
I hope I can answer.
Do we have questions from the councillors? Councillor Wilson?
Yeah. Thank you very much indeed for coming along and talking through with us all the extensive efforts you've made to try to engage. I was very excited when I first saw the project and very pleased to be able to give the grant monies, because as a councillor you hear a lot of the time we need to do something for young people, and the people comment all the time that young people need somewhere to go to get together to do different events, and we try hard with Town Council to organise a lot of outside stuff with our Move More Map project. The response, as you said, is really, really disappointing that the engagement that you've made hasn't resulted in as much feedback. But I suppose my question is I have two questions. The first question is, I think you mentioned when you were speaking that the next step was to do focus groups in schools. So if you could give me a bit more information about how that's going to work. And then the second question I've got is that with the limited feedback you've actually been able to get through all the hard work that you've done, do you think the outcome is any different than what you thought it might be at the beginning of the project?
Yeah, we did expect that we would get more, because we had the same, we didn't put a half in out. We were told that there was a need for this, and the study would give us that deeper insight. So we were frustrated and disappointed, but obviously, thank those that did come back to us. And obviously we learned from things that maybe we've gone in the wrong direction with some of it as well. So we've learned from that, and we're going to change out that second survey went up to young people. We knew that we probably didn't target that with the focus groups, as far as I know, I won't be involved in delivering them, but it's looking at what are the barriers. So when only 50% of the initial 38 young people said that they would attend a youth club. It's finding out why. Is it because of what it's called? Would you actually prefer somewhere that is just an open space, but somewhere that you actually feel is your own? And you know, a bit more about the activities. So a lot of feedback in the second questionnaire that went out, there was a bit more open where they could so not left questions. Most young people wanted to do gaming, somewhere to hang out with friends, somewhere they could be creative, somewhere outdoorsy. So it's looking at meeting the needs of as many young people as possible, and I think that the whole open access youth opportunity there is making sure that it's open to everybody. But obviously everybody does a lot of different things, so we're just trying to target as many young people as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Councillor Harewood has a question.
Thank you, Chair. We are addressing Sparks, are we not?
No.
No, youth fed.
What are we addressing?
This is the Youth Federation.
Yes.
New?
Youth Federation. Yes, so it's okay. I was going to say, I think it's I do appreciate the situation that we have where, I mean, it's been difficult to get people engaging in lots of ways after COVID. Or, you know, as Councillor Bennett Wake says, you know, we still like unique in some ways. I think I was just quite interested when reading through about the, so the point is, we want to help as a town council. I mean, so straight off the bat, I could say that the youth summit I helped set up would be an excellent place for you to go and talk to canvas, I don't know how you put it really, to go and speak to people about that, because at those, there's been several youth summits, at those youth summits, just drop in, and I think the number of Mansfield groups have been there, and they've, that's fine, but it had specifically in the west of Macclesfield, so not too far from Fermain Academy and All Hallows, they have talked about that desire to have a club. And then the other thing is, I mean, you know, I mean, I certainly echo what Councillor Wilson says about with you know, older generations are always asking us, people that are older than me are always asking, where are our youth centres? We need more youth centres. And actually when you listen, they talk about the fact there were actually lots of youth centres. It wasn't just one big one. There was, it was a big thing. Whereas when I speak to younger people, I'm not entirely sure they know what a youth centre is, because that's how decimated the industry is. Yeah, absolutely. So I would just say so just to sort of almost like a bit of advice. I mean, come to our youth summit by all means and engage, because we think that you'd certainly hear a lot of people there speaking. I was interested in whether, do you have a young trustee? Or do you have a young trustee board?
We have a youth board, well, 4 youth boards, 20 young people who work alongside our trustee board and be interacting with them.
Yeah, so do they sort of help with the focus for this then as well?
Yeah, well, they help with the second lot of questions, as you can imagine. The first one came from the higher up, which I think was the main problem. But I think that some of our feedback was that I think we could have utilised Macclesfield Town Council more in actually getting into places and using your knowledge of the area. Like I say, we didn't have a foothold in the area, so I think we could definitely. I think moving forward, like I say, this is continuing, so we are definitely going to try and take on any opportunity that you can give us.
Thank you for coming along and updating us. That's really helpful. Councillor Bennett, sorry, Councillor Bennett.
Yeah, just how many questionnaires or questions, however you did it, how many did you send out to
to young people?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't have that.
You don't. So
no.
100, 1,000, you don't know.
It would have been hundreds. Yeah, it would have been targeted through different ways. Yeah, but I'm not sure how that was done. Sorry.
Okay. That was the main question I wanted.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's thinking of, because we've got some quite small groups here who, for the same amount of money, are providing lots of activities that we know are needed, and I'm not being rude, but it's a bit disappointing that someone's not written the right questionnaire and sent us the right question. I'd have thought that for the for the grant that would have been doable. And it's, you know, what young people actually want and what adults think they want, or to, I learn that every day in school. I'm sure all parents every day and people who work with young people learn that every day. So, you know, I guess that's a lesson learned, but I think if you're coming in from outside, even though you've got the Fermain in Macclesfield, is that you need to be local.
Yeah.
That's the top and bottom of it. And we're a local council, we're a local town council for local people. And yeah, it's just, you really need to go away and think about that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't understand what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we learn from it very quickly. But yeah,
I certainly do think before we considered any other grants for this sort of thing that, you know, I had my questions anyway and I was expecting some results.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a lesson learned for everyone doing a questionnaire.
Yeah, but I'll welcome that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bennett Wake. So we're on to item 5 in the grant application decision. So going back to the beginning again, that's going to go. Item 5.1, Macclesfield Boys Boxing Club, to consider the grant application for £1,500. Do you have any speakers on that, please? Just getting stared at by Councillor Wilcock.
Yeah, obviously, first of all, I'd just like to thank all the speakers. I know the Boxing Club aren't here anymore. They had to go back for the coaching. But I think each presentation was well delivered. I've certainly had answers or questions answered by listening to you. Going back to the application for the Boys Boxing Club, we've seen in the Olympics last year our very own Olympian and the work that's been done. So I commend them for coming to us as Town Council, and I fully back the application for the £1,500 to send a group of young girls to Ireland.
Thank you. Do we have any other speakers?
Well, yes, Chair, I'd like to second the proposal moved by Councillor Wilcock that we support this grant application, £1,500 towards a total cost of £3,795 to support girls' sport in Macclesfield, to send a delegation of female boxers to complete the tournament in Ireland, and to create some more carisses.
Okay.
More medals.
If everyone's all right, I'm going to thank you, Mark. We can take that to a vote then. So all in favour of the proposal from Councillor Wilcock? Okay. Thank you, that's unanimous. Thank you. Item 5.2, Macclesfield Cricket Club to consider the grant application for £2,000. Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay, do you have any speakers? Councillor Wilcock?
Just again, I've got some friends who their children attend the cricket club, they do the coaching. I've seen a packed on a Friday evening Victoria Road ground is. Also thinking back to the lady who spoke passionately to the council last year for disability play equipment, it kind of links in. We've shown that we are more than welcome and more than accepting to help different varied people within Macclesfield. And again, I think it's such a fantastic thing that we can support not only female but also those that feel potentially that they may not have the opportunity because of disability. There is no disability, it's all ability. So again, if I may, I'd like to propose that we give the grant of £2,000.
Thank you. Do I have any other speakers on that, please? Or second?
Yeah, I am very happy to second the proposal from Councillor Wilcock to award a grant of £2,000 to Macclesfield Cricket Club to support girls and people with disability to enjoy the game of cricket. I think that this is a good project. The Cricket Club have clearly managed to get some funding themselves, and they've also raised donations, and I look forward to hearing of progress in September.
Thank you. Okay, so do we need to take that to a vote? Okay, so all in favour, please? Thank you. Again, that's unanimous. Thank you very much for a great presentation. And just to mention to people watching as well that we've already seen council staff and the CBS working very well with different groups to sort of encourage and really shape people's bids to make them to basically make them as good as they can be. So that's really great. Going to jump to, I know I'm a bit like an auctioneer at this moment. I'm going to go up a notch in a minute and go 5.3 signets to consider the application for £2,000. Please. Do we have any speakers or proposers on that?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm happy to move this grant of £2,000 be awarded to Signets towards the new lighting and sound equipment required for the second floor of Paradise Mill to create what is going to be a very exciting rehearsal and performance space. I think this project is being funded from a range of sources, from ticket money, from this grant itself, and I think that also there's match funding here from the Cooperative Community Fund. I think this is an excellent project that will not only lead to the development and support of young people in Macclesfield, but will also provide a really excellent space in Macclesfield for other events, which we are so short of. When you're an organiser like we all are, wanting to arrange events for things, it's very, very difficult, isn't it, to find somewhere and somewhere that's newly refurbished in such a lovely way. And I know that some of the funding is going towards funding a choreographer and a musical director, and of course, you know, the work is worthy of their hire, and you know, it's important that people who are giving time like this do get paid for their services. So I'm happy to move this grant to be awarded, Chair.
Brilliant, thank you. Do we have any further comments on Councillor Bennett-Waite?
Yeah, I'm happy to second that. It sounds like a great shared space, and I look forward to looking at them polished.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett-Waite. I'd just like to third it, I think, to second it, yeah. Just to say further, I think there's a great opportunity to get different groups working together, and as you say, Kalini, about actually making sure, you know, so working with the museums, opening it up to other people, that's really quite exciting. So can you take that to a vote, please? So all in favour of that, please raise your hands. Councillor Ireland? No? Okay.
I'll abstain at the moment.
Okay. Thank you very much. That passes with one abstention. Thank you. We're going to just skip to 5.4, just drop in to consider the grant application for £1,240. Maybe I should say it like Councillor Wilson, £1,240. Okay, do we have any speakers on that item, please?
Yeah, again, I think it's a great project, and it's a great service that I know young people who use, and it's, you know, reasonably priced for what they do.
Thank you. Is that a proposal?
Yeah, to that proposal.
Okay, do we have a second or any further comments? Councillor Wilson?
Yes, I'm very happy to second the proposal to award a grant of £1,240 to drop in towards a total cost of the project of £4,030 to provide excellent and well-needed support to service to support young people during the school holidays. I think there's a great mix of both inside and outside activities, and congratulations on producing such a worthy project. Thank you.
Thank you. That passes. That's great. Sorry. Vote, of course. Excuse me. Sorry. Put that to a vote then, please. Okay, all in favour? Okay, item 5.5, Macclesfield Pride, to consider the grant application for £1,995. Do we have speakers on that subject, Councillor Wilson?
Yes, I'm very pleased to move the grant of £1,995 towards a total cost of the project £4,215 to organise Macclesfield Pride. Yay! For the first time it's been out of action because of COVID. This is an excellent project. I think it's pulled together a whole range of activities, and it will be, not only will it be a really good fun day, it'll raise awareness, it'll make sure that we are a safer community for all our members, and will deliver good support and footfall to the town centre. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I would like to second that, and I'd like to just with the added note of it's great to see that you're working with town council staff and with CVS, and I would encourage you to basically to go out and work with, you know, get that stage from the art space, get those other resources, you know, whatever, you know, get the town galvanised behind your project. So that'd be brilliant. And yeah, and let's get that electricity from Cheshire East.
Oh yeah, we're on
And the
it.
flag.
And the flag. Oh yeah, the flag, of course, yeah. Which was a very, I mean, I remember that very proud moment actually when we got that up there. Yeah, it's brilliant. Okay, let's take that to the vote then, please. All in favour? Thank you again, unanimous. Thank you. Brilliant. So 5.6, reach out and recover to consider the grant application of £1,990. Councillor Wilcox.
Thank you. Personally, I've helped out the night shelter, and at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're on an overnight shift, people who are there who are homeless through addiction or through other means are telling you their heartfelt stories. It really does resonate, and I know how hard it can be for these people who have got they're at the lowest ebb. To say to somebody who's a complete stranger to have that confidence to confide in them. I think the project that Raw are trying to do with this, to get people aware of how hard addiction is just a fantastic thing for the I would say clients to be involved in. So yeah, I'm very proud, or very privileged to say I'd like to propose the grant application for £1,990 for this fantastic project.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Bennett-White.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Councillor Wilcox just said. I too have really come into politics from speaking to people who were either addicts or recovering addicts who were living on the streets of Macclesfield, and listening to their stories and then just reflecting on your project and giving people a voice to not only recover but to flourish, and also with the support of people who've already gone through that process. Just makes me want to cry. It's so lovely. It's fantastic. You do such good work, and it's one of our little hidden gems that's not always trumpeted about, and it's fantastic work, and it's that knock-on effect, it's ripples in the pond, so if people can understand why people behave in a certain way, then it just makes them think, and they might be more forgiving and more helpful. So brilliant. So I second that.
Thank you. Councillor Herman.
Thank you, Chair. I in my long life, longer than I've never met that perfect person, never met anyone who is. And I salute Roar, and that we all have things that are either front or secret, and they are one with us. And I would like to walk beside them in whatever we have, whatever we show and whatever we care not to show. So I would support all of us in our imperfections, because we all have them. Thank you.
Councillor Wilson.
Yes, I agree with everything that's been said by colleague councillors, but I also want to note that this is, it's a one-off event on the 30th of July in Macclesfield, but the equipment will be reused, so it's future-proofed again. It's something that can become a regular event if that's what's felt appropriate. So, really excellent project. Happy to support.
Okay, so we have a proposal from the seconder. I will abstain myself. But we'll take that to a vote, please. Okay, all in favour, please. Thank you. Abstention from me.
As a perfect person.
Let's see. So Silk Heritage Trust to consider the grant. I needed to take a breath then. As the auctioneer in me was about to start. The grant would have probably gone up if I had started taking to consider the grant of £1,950 for the Silk Heritage Trust. Councillor Bennett-White.
I feel like we're at Wimbledon. Again, can I just say what a fabulous project. I absolutely love when I go on holiday is doing the hole in the head thing. It's great. There's loads of pictures of Stella and I doing that everywhere. Absolutely love that idea. I love that the museum is coming out onto the streets. I love the idea of oral history. I've been to a few events already, and I'm actually speaking at another one this week. So yeah, I absolutely love this idea. I think it's fantastic. I think it's St Macclesfield, and it's well worth the price. So I propose this grant.
Do we have any other comments or seconders?
Yes, I'm happy to second this grant, £1,950 towards a Heritage Open Day project of walking tours. And I'd like to thank the museums and Natalie for putting together a project which is going to bring footfall into the town centre. I'm very keen on going on walking tours when I go anywhere, because it's a really great way of finding out from local people about the local area. Clearly I know about Macclesfield, but it's something I always seek out, like Councillor Bennett Way sticking ahead through to their photograph taken. I'm a great one in going on a heritage walking tour, other such walking tours, to hear from local people about their town. So I'm happy to second this project.
Do we have any other comments, or should we take that to the vote then, please? All in favour, please? Thank you. Again, unanimous. Wonderful. Okay, so we're on to item 5.8, which is for South Park Sparks. Is it Sparks or Spark?
Spark, Chair.
Spark. I think it's just Spark on there. And to consider the grant of £250. Do you have any
Yes, perhaps I could just, Chair, you'd bear with me to say a few words about this grant, because we didn't have a speaker about this grant, and I think it's just important to say a few words about it. Spark are a community interest company. They are the Friends of South Park, and we're working very closely with Spark at the moment on a number of projects. One of the projects is to refurbish, knock down and recreate the new pavilion for South Park, which is something that we've spent a huge amount of time over the last 3 years pulling together, and it's now coming to fruition. And Spark are on the working group that we've pulled together with others to communicate with our community residents about what they would like to see in the pavilion. And I mentioned earlier, Chair, that as Mayor, one of my civic events is going to be to celebrate the 100th birthday of South Park, where I spend, as people who know me know, quite a lot of my time running about. The Spark are also organising a party to celebrate the 100th centenary. Their event is slightly different in that they're going to have some vendors there. They're going to be charging for vendor pitches, etc. And there's going to be a live act there. And so we've got a whole series of events, we've heard this evening, a whole series of events to consult with the public about South Park, both about Pavilion and about the master plan, where Cheshire East wholly owned company ANZA are going to be doing some work on the park. We've heard about the 11th of August, Chair, where there's going to be a youth organised event to ask specifically young people what they want to see in the park. On the 13th of August, it's going to be the Town Council's event, my mayoral civic event, where we'll be having a party in the park and also consulting with residents and the community. And this is what Spark are organising. It's a very small grant, £250 towards a total cost of £350. The difference being the vendors being charged a small pitch fee. So I would like to go on to say, please Chair, I move this grant request of £250 from Spark to contribute towards their event to both celebrate the centenary of the park and consult with our residents about what they think about the park itself. I think it's probably worth adding one more thing, that the event on the 11th is in midweek, the event on the 13th is on a Saturday, and the event on the 21st is on a Sunday. So if you can't get some of those days, well, we've done our best.
Do we have any further comments or proposals? I'd like to second that in light of what Councillor Wilson's saying, and of course the fact that they're such brilliantly attended sort of events, that they build on the work that we're doing with infrastructure and architecture, and actually just making sure there's plenty of events to enjoy the park. So could we take that to a vote, please? All in favour, please, of that proposal? Again, that's unanimous, thank you. Right, so If people would like to leave now, I mean, you don't have to. You can listen to us talk about the spend today and finances if you would like to. But it's been, as I say, it's been wonderful. I think it felt a bit like the youth summit, the sort of atmosphere of potential to do stuff. And cricketing and sort of collaborations could happen with other things. So that's brilliant. So, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Really looking forward to it. Item 6, the grant update and the grant update report. So, just to be noted, I think at this time, and just to say, I think there's some great things going on there. And move on. Item 7, the finances, the spend to date 7.1. In action here, we have to approve the spend to date at the end of May 22 of £110,252 for recommendation to the full council on the 25th of July.
So moved, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Do we need a second? Just okay. Okay, we take that to a vote then. Okay. Thank you. All in favour, please. Thank you. Again, unanimous. That's great. 7.2 to note the following reports: the receipts and payments, bank reconciliation, income and expenditure, authorised payments.
So moved, Chair.
Thank you. So we'll take that to a vote again. All in favour, please. Thank you again. Unanimous. Okay, item 8, debit card. To consider the proposal in the attack report. Do you have any speakers or so? Yeah, please.
So this is it has been put together to help staff when buying those small items or items that, so we don't have to open accounts for everything because we can't always get invoices for everything. So the idea is to have each member of staff will have a debit card that's all linked to the same account, and they will still have to fill in expense sheets and have them authorised, etc. I've written a procedure to go with it, but one thing I think I missed out was I think there should be a limit to payments, and I would suggest that the limit be £200 so that any payment over £200 would have to go through a different structure.
Did you say £200?
Yeah. Just because I think, you know, and that's for one item, basically. So we would say we put £1,000 in this account. As it ran down, I would be able to see the how much was left in it, and we would do the expenses in the same way. It would just be easier than having staff or councillors pay for things and then have to claim it back. It just makes it a little bit simpler.
Thank you, Councillor Bennett.
Yeah, I know some schools use a similar system because we bought some ice creams that's the residential on card. My only concern is the amount of cards. Do we need 5 cards?
I would suggest that there is probably a need for every member of staff to have one, because what I wouldn't want to do is be lending. If I have a card that's got my name on, I don't want to lend it to anyone else because it's my responsibility, and I wouldn't want them to have to share it. And I think that is when issues happen. So if everybody had their own card, I would be able to see what every staff member had bought, and I would be able to get the expense sheets off them. So I would want the expense sheets off them before they go buy something to sign it off, and then when they have that, then they could go buy it. I just think if we've got 1 or 2 between us, then it could get messy with who bought what and getting, you know.
Yeah.
So 5 does seem a lot, but I think that the nature of most of those jobs is they might all need bits and pieces, that it would just be easier if everybody had their own.
And would we just be able to go to Councillor Wilson, please?
Yes, I've got a comment, but partly to respond to Councillor Bennett-Wake's question. As the person, one of the people who deals with payments on behalf of the council, as both previously Vice Chair and now Mayor, I do know that our staff do claim expenses for items they have purchased, and they all have to do that because it's part of their job to go make small purchases. So I think it's right that everybody does have a card each. The town clerk will know, I've commented a number of times to the clerk about staff having to wait to get their money back. Because personally I would prefer us not to have to do that. I know from being involved in similar work and you know, when you need something quickly or you're making a purchase to, you know, get something to help an event go by, sometimes it is a quick purchase that needs to be made. And I think this is an excellent idea to avoid our staff having to pay their own money for things and then have to wait to get it back. So I do think it is something that would then justify everybody having one each. So I support the concept. I have, as chair of personnel, I just have a couple of issues with the procedure. It's not really consistent in terms of clearly with something like this you've got to have a tight procedure, because you can't have, you know, oh, I didn't know I couldn't do that afterwards. I'm not saying any of our staff would do that at all, but I have an experience of this type of thing in a previous life. And there's various things that will be reported if it happened, and some say there may be a disciplinary offence and some say there will be a disciplinary offence. And in my experience in procedures of this nature, where we are quite tight on finances, rightly so, that any contravention of these procedures will be a disciplinary offence. That doesn't mean to say action will be taken. You've got to word it properly. So you've got, you know, may result in disciplinary action, will be committing a disciplinary offence. And I think we've got to be really clear that if you break these rules in how it's operated, it will be a disciplinary offence. But you know, you can't be mealy mouthed about it, because we're gonna make a mess of ourselves if something goes a bit, you know, it doesn't quite, there's confusion over something. So we should be really clear. And what I would like to suggest is, I would like to move that we go ahead with the process to have cards, so our staff members don't have to use their own money or wait to get the money back. But I would like to move that with the procedure, that the procedure is agreed largely as is, but it's delegated for the final points to myself and the town clerk and the chair of personnel to just go through and just double check the procedure to make sure that where we've got will be's and may be's are in the right places, and that our staff are clear on you know, anything that might result in disciplinary action or will result in disciplinary action. You've got to be totally clear. I'm not expecting that, but as chair of personnel, I know where these things in the past in other organisations have caused issues. So I'd like to move those two things. We agree the cards, but we let the clerk and I just have a look at those disciplinary areas to make sure we're consistent.
Councillor Wilcock, do you want to comment?
Yeah, just to ask questions. So I fully understand why the town clerk is looking to do this. Part of my war budget from last year was purchasing something which one of the town council staff did. I don't know the ins and outs of how that was done, but that's very expenses. You know, why should they away with the money? I also agree that the cards for individual people is correct and it is the right way to go, because on the security part on the last page there, it says the card will only ever be used by the person named on the card. So if one person hasn't got it and needs to purchase something, the card. Just one thing, one question I'd like to ask. It says there's a local amount of £1,000. So is that going to be £1,000 per card?
No, so all the cards are linked to the same account, and there'll be £1,000 in there. And so what we'll do is when it runs out, we'll go through the normal banking process to put £1,000 back in, and what will happen is it'll be like a kind of running petty cash thing. So when, I don't know, say it gets down to £100, I will then send out to the councillors like yourself who authorise these payments. This is what was spent, this is why we need to replenish £900.
Yeah, because just one thing you said is to replenish another £1,000, but just to go back up to the ceiling or level of
I think we start with 1,000 and see how the process goes. It's only for things that we can't get a proper VAT invoice for. So it might be, you know, for milk or, you know, those little things, rather than anything over a certain amount. I would rather have a proper invoice and an account with them. So it's for those sort of extra bits.
Councillor Howard?
Thank you. I think it's a on the whole it sounds okay. Is everyone in the office going to have a card, or just everyone will have a card?
Yeah. All 5 members of staff will have their own
Okay.
card.
Okay. I just wanted to
Yeah,
know if
because
it was only
We don't want to share cards. I think that is, from my previous experience, that is when you get into difficulty, when people,
I really wanted to know.
yeah.
Yeah, and the procedure says, as Councillor Wilcox said, it will only be used by the person on the card. So if everyone doesn't have one, then people are going to back it into the claim and expenses routine, then, aren't they? So,
Okay, do we have a proposal then from
Yeah,
Yeah.
the amendment, yeah.
Councillor Wilson with the amendment? And a seconder? Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Should we take that to the vote then, please? All in favour of the proposal? Thank you. Councillor Howard as well, isn't it? That's unanimous. Thank you. Right, that's just leads us on to item 9, the date and time and place of the next meeting, which is in September, would you believe? So the next meeting of the Finance Committee will be held at 7 p.m. on the 5th of September, as you would expect at the Macclesfield Town Hall. So that's brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Brian, as well. Sorry you didn't get a chance to speak.